Suspense plays an important role in any thriller and is present in so many movies and shows that we watch on a daily basis. However, despite how commonplace suspense is, there is one director who mastered the art, Alfred Hitchcock. For those of you who aren't familiar with who Alfred Hitchcock was, he was a famous movie director whose career spanned 6 decades. Hitchcock's career started in 1923 as an art director on set of a movie. By 1935, he was known as England's great director. It wasn't until 1939 that Hitchcock decided to permanently move to the United States to pursue a career in Hollywood. He continued to thrill people with his movies until his death in 1980. Today, we are going to take a look at 3 of Hitchcock's films: Rope, Psycho, and Vertigo. We're going to analyze his unique techniques that develop suspense within these films. Before we continue, we'd just like to point out that though Hitchcock utilizes multiple techniques within each movie, for clarity, we're going to highlight only one prominent technique in each movie. Quick note, this video contains spoilers for Rope, Psycho, and Vertigo, so if you haven't seen these films, we highly recommend watching them before continuing with this video. It is probably best to have watched these movies to understand what scenes we will be referring to. So before we start analyzing Hitchcock's suspense tactics, we must first have a quick understanding of what suspense actually is. The most basic definition of suspense is a feeling of excitement or anxiety while waiting for something uncertain to happen. Basically, suspense is the uncertainty that keeps viewers on the edge of their seats. It is important to note that suspense is different from surprise. Hitchcock himself makes a clear distinction between the two.
To get real suspense, you must let the audience have information. Now let's take the old-fashioned bomb theory. You and I are sitting talking, we'll say, about baseball. We're talking for 5 minutes. Suddenly a bomb goes off and the audience have a 10-second terrible shock. Now, let's take the same situation. Tell the audience at the beginning that under the table, and show it to them, there's a bomb and it's going to go off in 5 minutes. Now we talk baseball. What are the audience doing? They're saying, don't talk about baseball. There's a bomb under there. But they're helpless. They can't jump out of their seats up onto the screen and grab hold of the bomb and throw it out.
In an interview, Elon University professor Douglas Cass, who specializes in directing, screenwriting, and film history, says that
one of the most famous stories about Hitchcock, or that Hitchcock tells about his own work, is in order to create suspense, is the difference between just setting off the bomb for shock value and using it as a device for suspense.
This brings us to our first film, Rope. What makes this story so suspenseful is that the audience is immediately given everything they need to know. A murder has taken place and the body is hidden. The story of Rope is also extremely simple. Therefore, the audience is very capable of understanding exactly what is going on. A simple plot allows the audience to remember who knows what in the individual storylines of every character. Knowing the characters makes the audience care and furthermore become entrenched in the storyline, allowing for more tension to be built. Throughout Rope, the audience is painfully aware of the body lying just a few feet away from all of the characters, especially since Hitchcock keeps it in shot for most of the movie. The suspense lies in the fact that the audience is uncertain whether or not the characters will discover the secret hidden right next to them. The next film we're going to take a look at is the 1960 classic Psycho. Hitchcock uses specific camera techniques in certain types of shots to create suspense. As Professor Cass mentions,
He also used a technique called cross-cut tracking shot. Take tracking point of view shots and intercut them with tracking shots of the person whose point of view it is. By using these cross-cut tracking shots, if the protagonist is in danger, that's going to create a much more unsettling and edge-of-the-seat experience for the viewer.
in Psycho, Hitchcock uses the close-up to his advantage. By focusing on the face of his subjects, he is able to show emotion easily. Throughout Psycho, Hitchcock cuts away from the close-ups of his subjects to focus on inanimate objects. This shows desire and temptation most of the time throughout the film. Marion Crane, the pseudo-protagonist in the first act of the film, considers leaving with the money that her boss has entrusted her with. We see this internal struggle as she is packing to go on a trip. The camera cuts in between Marion packing and the $40,000 sitting on the bed in its white envelope. This shows her internal struggle to decide whether or not to take the money. The close-up is also used on inanimate objects to show their significance. This is most importantly seen when Norman Bates is cleaning up the crime scene left by his mother. The camera cuts away from his busy cleaning to allow the viewer to have a good look at the newspaper that Marion had previously wrapped around the money she had run away with earlier. Norman is totally unaware of the money that is there, but Hitchcock does this to inform the viewer of something that the characters don't know about, referring back to his time bomb theory. The final film that we are going to take a look at is Hitchcock's 1958 movie, Vertigo. One thing that Alfred Hitchcock does to increase the suspense is through the film's music. Hitchcock knew that music could get messages across to the audience just as much as the camera could. He collaborated with composer Bernard Herrmann on movies such as Vertigo, Psycho, and North by Northwest. In Vertigo, Herrmann created an intensely high-pitched chord for Hitchcock to use whenever the camera zoomed in and dollied back. This camera movement caused the shot to seem as if it were stretching. This is used whenever the main character, Scotty, is experiencing the actual medical condition known as vertigo in the movie. This happens when the female main character, Madeline, falls into the San Francisco Bay. Also, when Scotty is looking down at the floor from the tower, and during Scotty's nightmare scene. In all three of these scenes, Hitchcock causes the audience to further experience the feeling of vertigo that Scotty has by increasing the volume and the pace of the music. Here's an example. As you can see, the shot is quite disorienting, and watching it without the music would seemingly take away from the effect that the combined tools have together. Alright, that's all we have to tell you about today. We hope that you have a greater understanding of the brilliance of Hitchcock and how he implemented different tactics into his films to create suspense. We encourage you to watch his movies to see if you can pick out the time bomb theory, the use of close-ups, and the use of music intertwining with certain camera shots. Hitchcock was a master of suspense, and it was the little things that he did to twist your emotions and cause you to feel the way he intended.